You're listening to the Unreasonable Fridays podcast network.
Now I found like this 22-year-old DPS obsessed tank bane, who's a good tank, by the way. He says he's a trash tank. He's actually a good tank. Who basically made a pug server, and people who are also goofballs all end up staying in that server, and that server is just full of goofballs of all ages, from all countries. Goofballs. They're all just bizarre people.
As a tank, I would like to meet these people.
They do not, a lot of them do not use FC approved language. I will have to warn, but they also aren't like transphobic or anti-black or stuff like that. They just talk like a Reddit board.
Goon Squad. I know. I got one of those in Destiny. Yes, Goon Squad. You can't take them, or you can't bring them to the cookout. Overnight people. Overnight crew working at the harbor. Best friends in the world, but you can't bring them. You don't hang out with them when the sun's out. You just don't do it.
No, I can't take them anywhere.
Nope.
Can't take them. They're not bad people, but I cannot take them anywhere.
Yes, I know.
But like Gumi has been with them. Also, we also call Dragoons Goon Squad, so that was funny. I'm like, when I think of Goon Squad, I automatically think of Dragoons now.
Well, you know what comes out on Saturday dubbed?
I don't.
What comes out?
Kuroko's Basketball Season 2 dubbed.
I'm not watching Kuroko's basketball.
I am.
I mean, I'll watch it again in English. I watched it on Crunchyroll. I'll run it back though.
Exactly.
Oh,
it's just because specifically right now I'm really not into shonen. I'm specifically not. I'm very shonened out. I used to be really in, like, I go through anime, manga, all of that stuff in genres, and I am on a firm adult romance kick. It started out with shoujo, and now I'm like, I just can't with kids anymore. Like, I don't care about these kids falling in love. They're all like 13. I don't care. Now I'm like minimum age is 20. The character has to be 20, has to be like female or femme presenting, or it can be like a really, like, there's a couple of them with like male characters that are just like, it's like a gender bender, but it's not actually a gender bender. It's just like a dude who really likes like sewing and cute things and like cooking and like homey stuff. And then they're like trying to navigate a hypermasculine area, and they're like, but I like these. So I like those. I am really tired of dudes, really tired of children, really tired of dude children. Like these dude children with their super willpowers, and I'm just like,
yeah, that's fair.
I can't. I'm done with the harem plots. Reverse harem or get the fuck out. I don't want it.
So what you're saying is Yasuke the anime would not make...
They'd make absolutely nothing.
Yasuke's
a whole ass lie.
Fuck that shit.
Do we want to do formal introductions and then get into it? You can do the music drop.
Now.
Go ahead, stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up.
Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Ad Space. I'm your host, Aaron Van Freeman, but the actual host with me, the most delicious name in podcasting, At least Bacon Bacon, how are you?
Hello. Now the greatest is that somebody's system sound is coming through on that, and like the timing of it was perfect with the announcement, with the.
That was me. That was me. I'm actually getting I was actually getting notifications, and I was trying to actually time it with it because it's rude, but I was trying to time it. Just I really was actively trying to do it.
It was timed perfectly. Those Slack notifications were timed impeccably. Hi, we're here mid conversation with the other co-hosts, Justin and other Aaron.
How are you, gentlemen?
You have me until Mass Effect comes out in 30 minutes.
Oh shit!
Nigga, you owe us a hot 45. That shit's downloading.
It downloaded yesterday. I'm kidding.
It pre-downloaded.
Y'all have me until the duration. I'm just excited, irrationally so, about Mass Effect being released.
No, there's nothing irrational about it. I get to fucking play Mass Effect 1 again. Like the actual
but with quality, right, with quality of life settings.
Jesus fucking Christ. I played Mass Effect. Bruh. Look, Mass Effect 1 disrespected me so hard, I couldn't do it. There are people who beat it 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Bless you guys. Saints, patient motherfuckers.
Raise his hand.
Right. You're the best. That shit disrespected my time.
Listen, it's pretty bad. Like, I had played through Mass Effect 1 3 to 4 playthroughs. At least like 2 of them were fully completed. The other 2 were getting ready to completion. And then my profile, and then I had played through all of Mass Effect 2, like 2 to 3 times. And then my profile got corrupted and all of my save data got corrupted with it. And so I had to start, and that was also after I had completed all of Dragon Age. And I want to say the second Dragon Age as well. Yeah, no, it was the first 2 Dragon Ages as well. So I did all the first 2 Dragon Ages and I did all the first 2 Mass Effects. And then, and I had done all of BioShock. I went, like, my boyfriend at the time took me through a BioWare, like, he was trying to, like, introduce me to more games and stuff. And he's like, Bacon likes high fantasy and science fiction. Here's BioWare games. And I just, like, ate all of it. And then my profile corrupted and I lost everything. Which is how I ended up playing an ungodly amount of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 and Final Fantasy 11.
I love Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2.
They are so good.
I find it fascinating that they managed to miss that big barn that they could have hit when they brought out Marvel's Avengers last year or whenever they brought it out. Like when I was looking at it, I was like, I had hand waved it up until about I played the beta because I was like, they're just going to do Marvel Ultimate Alliance again. That'll work. They're just going to do Marvel Ultimate Alliance. That'll work. They didn't do Marvel Ultimate Alliance in any way, meaningful shape, form, or fashion. But why?
And it's not like people didn't like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 on the Switch.
Right. People bought that up. We just want Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
I was really excited about it because I love Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Like, I also respect Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 for respecting my time and giving me miles in the first couple stages. Thank you, game. You know why I'm here. But also with Mass Effect, I didn't realize they fixed 1. I had bought it fully intending to just go through 1 on easy mode.
No, they literally they went through and they said, y'all, this is what we fixed with 1. And I'm just like, thank you, God. Because even though I thoroughly enjoyed playing through 1, it does not age well.
I bought it because they fixed 1. I've played through Mass Effect 2 and 3 about 6, 7 times a piece. I still have saves. They brought it in backwards compatibility. I was still playing it. I got this so I could play Mass Effect 1 because I heard it was good. I beat it once, and it was such a haze that I don't remember it well enough. I just know that my time was wasted no less than 11 times.
Did we just become best friends?
Bruh.
Because, like,
we weren't.
That is literally my Mass Effect experience.
Yeah.
Like up until like 5 years ago, I played 1 like 42 times. I had beat 2 and 3, and I was like, man, I really want to see the front part of the story. I beat it once, don't remember anything.
Right.
Can't remember. Couldn't tell you. I know it was very important stuff happening in there.
The amount of time that they spend, the story and everything, the amount of time that is spent trying to make your Mako do things and having your guns not work like regular guns is like 5 to 1.
I'm not gonna lie, my favorite thing with the Mako was like glitch scaling up cliffs.
Yes.
Like, who was making the Mako do like ridiculous things? Like
it was so good. I'm the only one who, I would swear to God, I'm the only one who enjoyed the Mako because I did some wild shit with the Mako. I would put on music that would match whatever planet I'm exploring, like whatever on Spotify that would like match whatever planet I'm exploring. Junius is actually not now an indie band, but at the time they were an indie to underground band, and they got played so fucking much during the first Mass Effect because they just like worked with so many of the planets. And I'd just be like, I'm gonna scale my Mako all the fucking way up this cliff. I'm gonna be vertical. So good. I had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, I'm super glad they fixed all that stuff. I definitely want the new trilogy thing. Like really bad.
yeah, that I do too. I don't have the money for it because I've literally spent all of my money on games in the last like 3 weeks. I have to slow down. I mean,
if it helps, the drought's coming. So you're not gonna have to spend your money on games again until like September or October.
The drought is real, like those Lil Wayne mixtapes.
Listen, like there's gonna be a time between 5.55 and the expansion where I'll be able to dedicate more time to like other games, and I'm like really looking forward to that. Like I still have to log in and do basic stuff because FC leader and I have a fucking personal house, but like I don't have to play for like as many hours as I am right now, which is fine. This is great.
Isn't it? I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of fun when you get into these rhythms where you just wind up playing the game so much that you get other people playing it, and then you kind of build community from it. It's kind of cool. It is. It's really impressive. At some point, you do have to stop for your sanity and play some other stuff, but there's like a window in time there, like mid-season form is the best way to describe it, where you're like out there, and you're providing almost a safe space for other folks while you're knocking out all your shit, while you're sorting out your own problems, because the best grinding comes from depression, and no one can tell me different. That's where all the builds come from. That's where all the crafting comes from. You are depressed and you come out of it with 45% more materials and 6 new builds, whole new perspective, and then you start teaching other people. Then you build your little western town right from there, right from that spot. So, yes, it's good stuff. You're in a good place, Bacon. Terrible place, but a good place. A bittersweet place. It's a bittersweet place. Little column A.
It's a place.
So
it is a place. All right. So where do we want to? You know what? Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the bad, or
I mean, we can go. We can do the bad. Let's do the bad.
So we have been avoiding talking about this for like what, the last 10 minutes, because we are about. God, this is such a bad topic to start off with.
Well, when we talked about this last episode.
Editor's note here. There was an episode that took so long to put out that I never put it out. I'll be releasing it in bits and pieces. But here's a bit of that conversation. .
they went the Sengoku Basara route. Like what Capcom and Sengoku Basara does with the Warring States period is they go Devil May Cry all over the place. It is completely over the top. They turn Oda into a literal demon king, and it is just the most over the top thing ever. And I'm like, okay, I can get behind that because that's your whole premise. Your whole premise is this is completely over the top. This is stylistic fights. This is all of your anime tropes, all of it condensed and boiled down into one game or one show. Here it is. I'm like, okay, I can get down with that. I guess I can get down with that because Basara tells me up front that that's what it is. Yasuke wants that, but it also wants to be taken seriously.
Yeah, you can't have both ways, man.
And that opening scene is it's a great scene in a vacuum, right? Like Hanoji Temple is burning down. It's a great battle scene. There's magic, there's robots, and I'm like, in a vacuum, I like this. I just don't know how I feel about it here. And the first episode, it's fine, I guess. I'm gonna end up watching the whole thing because I gotta see what they end up doing with the story.
Right. I don't think anybody in my circle is done yet. I mean, it just came out today.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I'm over it now. Like it is not what I wanted, and I am very over it. I'm really tired of the let's do redemption through child. The annoying part to me, like the Basara shit, that's fine. I don't even care. Like I would mind like even if they had taken like the the narrative that like his history and combined it with the Basara route, that would have been amazing. I would be like 100,000% all in. But like I feel like they're giving up material that's just way cooler.
And you get shades of that, right? Like what they're doing is they're using this as sort of a window into his flashbacks of that time. And I was actually shocked. They include some stuff that historical text actually backs up. And I was like, oh, so clearly at some point someone involved did their homework here.
All right, folks. And back to the show.
It was
no one had finished it. We saw the good pieces of Yasuke and we said, clearly they're going to make this better. The answer was no.
They did not.
And I think what makes me so, I don't want to say upset, but just I have such a visceral reaction to Yasuke and the product that Yasuke is because it's not bad, right? Like it'd be one thing if it was just bad all around. But the fact that the art is good, the character designs are good, the soundtrack is amazing. It's not just good songs, but all the songs fit the scenes that they used in perfectly. The action scenes are very entertaining. It's just the plot sucks. And the plot sucking drags everything else down. Like if this was just bad top to bottom, I would just say, okay, it's bad and I could walk away. But the fact that there are good pieces here and you could have made a good show using all the pieces presented, but they chose not to. Right?
I have never experienced a show choose violence to the degree Yasuke has chosen violence across the board.
Bleach.
I never watched
it. Bleach is terrible.
Well, I refuse to watch it because of that, though. Like, I'm not even going to put my, like, Yasuke baited the hook. Everybody's been complaining about Bleach since I've heard of Bleach, so I never watched Bleach.
That's fair.
Which is funny because it actually has, like, such a hard, like hardcore following, and I'm like, it's not good, though.
Right.
Bleach and Yasuke are the same. There are a lot of good pieces in Bleach, but narrative decisions drag everything down.
The narrative decisions are so bad. I'm just like, it was definitely one of those where I was watching it and I was like, why is this popular?
And guess what? Like, I'm going to put on my clown makeup when that final arc gets animated. I'm putting on my clown makeup and watching it. Why? Because I hate myself, clearly.
I mean...
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have this is terrible. I'm going to watch it. And I'm like, this is bad. I refuse. Or I go, this is bad and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. No, this is bad and I'm going to hate myself for watching it. But because those flashes of brilliance are there, I'm going to make excuses for myself.
It can't be this though, man.
Dog.
It can't be this, man. Like the fact that they did such an injustice to that man in that way. It was like almost intentional. Like, come on, man. I don't know if I can. Nah, man. I think I'm out.
So a lot of the issues I saw people had were like, you know, the robots, the magic, the werebear Russian lady.
Nope. Don't care. Nope. Not an issue.
That wasn't a problem.
I can actually make all three of those things work in the context of Yasuke's actual like history. I can make all three of those things work. And they started to in the first flashback where they said that the Mongols brought over the mechs. I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting allegory for the Mongols bringing gunpowder and literally shocking Nobunaga into saying, yo, it never again. We won because of geography, but if that shit happens again, we won't be that lucky. And that sort of spurs Nobunaga to sort of adopt this literal meritocracy of whatever it takes to be the strongest, I will make Japan the strongest.
Wouldn't it have been cool if that anime was about that, what you're talking about there? Go on.
Like, Nobunaga allies himself with the Jesuits to get the guns. What if the Jesuits bring the robots?
The Jesuits would totally bring robots.
They would totally bring robots. That anime I would have watched.
So now you have two canonical reasons for the robots existing. Oh, but you want to also have the traditionalist mindset of Japan. That's where the magic comes in. Magic can represent the traditionalist spiritualist sect of Oda's faction, the Buddhist faction, because that actually plays a part into Akechi burning his house or burning the temple to the ground. So you have the magic.
The temple.
You have the magic, you have the robots, you want the Russian werebear lady. The Jesuits employed foreign missionaries or foreign mercenaries that the mercenaries that they didn't steal from Africa, Yasuke, they actually employed from other countries. Again, you can make all three of these things work in the context of Yasuke's story, but they chose not to. And the fact that they made this story center around that white girl,
nigga.
And the implications of how that white girl got there, I was like, wait a minute. Are you all implying that this priest sexually assaulted her mother and that's why she's here with these powers? Is that the implication you're making here?
I didn't even put that together.
Well, because the priest calls her his daughter and says, and that woman took her from me after. I was like, oh.
I had Resident Evil brain. I was thinking of the Jesuits, the Catholic Church as umbrella. So you took it one step farther than I did. My fucking God.
Like, I hope that's not the implication they were making. I really do. But also, they couldn't decide what they wanted the struggle to be in these 6 episodes. You only have 6 episodes. You can't do too many arcs in 6 episodes. So are we going to deal with the Jesuits making a power grab, which they did in Japan? Again, a really interesting story you could have done. Or are we going to deal with what you can have the whole evil daimyo thing. That's cool. You don't want to deal with the historical implications of saying that Toyotomi was evil. I get that. But which one, right? You got to pick one.
So can I say something that might be a little controversial?
Go for it.
None of LaShawn's stuff is well paced, though.
He's a terrible writer.
Like, I love Cannon Busters in spite of itself so many times.
He writes anime like the niggas that turned me off to anime years ago. The ones who swore it was a flawless art form and the perfect way for young black men to communicate with the rest of the world. 100% perfect, without fail. He reminds me of that shit. Because if he thinks this shit works, if he thinks Yasuke is a good idea, then yeah, okay, buddy. Sure. This is the first time I've hated a show in years because I'm a big hippie now. We're in the golden age of media. Everything's cooking. Everything's cooking. Even fucking Zack Snyder's 6-hour fucking Justice League movie, it cooked for his shit. I'm cool. I'm fine with shit. I am. I'm like an old retired rich man. I'm fine with everything. Whatever. This is the first time where I was like, everything this show has done is wrong in the face of all these good ideas that they present for no more than 4 minutes at a time, randomly.
There's a okay, we're talking spoilers, obviously. There's a moment in the last episode. I can see the writer's room when Yasuke has to confront the dead Iga clan members and then Nobunaga. In the writer's room, they're like, we're going to have Yasuke face the personification of his guilt of failing his lord and his guilt over killing his first friend. That's gang, like that. On paper, that
would have been
good shit. That's on paper.
That would have been great if they told that story.
The way that he confronts it, though, is the little white child's magic helps him break through the illusion. Instead of the baked-in reason that they had, if he had just seen the white girl's necklace and instead of her magic snapping him out of it, the necklace reminds him of his first friend and he realized that all the traumas that he suffered were for a reason.
Hey. None of that happened.
None of it. And it was right there for him. It was right there.
This was not his story.
Yeah.
And it was not his story to such a degree that all these niggas jumping on board were just lying to our fucking faces. And if you look back at how they presented this, because first they presented it as historically accurate cartoon. And then they started to break out with the mechs and the robots, which again, cook. It's 2021. I don't fucking care. Captain America's black. I don't give a fuck. I'm dancing in the street with my drumsticks. I don't care what you do. But then the story is actually about a tiny white girl who's so much more powerful than everyone else. She says to Yasuke to his face, I don't need you. You're just good people. You're good vibes. Nigga, this... And she was right. She didn't need him. And that's terrible. About halfway through you realize she doesn't need him for anything. Because she's overpowered. The only thing, problem is she just needed to sort out. It's like when you pick up a game you've been playing for like 100 hours after like a year and you don't know what the buttons do. And then once you figure out what all the buttons do and you go back to melting everybody, you just needed to figure out what the buttons did. The whole show was about that little white girl. And she wasn't even like a little brown girl or a little black girl or a half Japanese brown girl or a Japanese girl. It was a little English girl. All these niggas got together to tell the story of the most powerful white woman in the universe. Are you fucking kidding me? And why wasn't this, like I said, this should have just been called The Ascendance of Jan Brady Volume 1 and this would have slapped. They called this Yasuke, my dude. They called this Yasuke. They baited the hook with a nigga for niggas. And it's about a little white girl through and through. He didn't need to be there. It could have been anybody. Nigga.
It could have been another neck.
And even the little white girl, I could make that fit.
Yes.
Right? If you want her to be a connection to the Jesuits making their power grab and aligning themselves with Mitsuhide, I can make that shit work. But you cannot make her the focal point. They made her the focal point. And I think the thing that aggravates me, one of the things that really aggravates me, clearly someone on that writer's room did their research.
Yes.
Because there are certain details, like Nobunaga and Ranmaru. They're lovers in this. That is a detail that someone clearly did their homework. The scene where they're like, oh, Yasuke's just dirty, he needs to be washed. That actually happened. There are records that we found that when Nobunaga met Yasuke, he thought he was just a dirty Japanese man.
Yeah, that's not the issue that we're running into. These people know the stories.
They made active choices to not
They
tell
made
it.
active choices. And my question is it Netflix that made these choices? Is it LaShawn that made? Who the fuck made these choices? Because they are two different people making way different types of genre here. and both of them do not mesh.
Yeah, like it instead of Yasuke, this ended up being Cannon Busters meets Afro Samurai.
And that's another thing. That's the thing I hate the most. They were trying to do it. Here's the deal. The Afro Samurai part of this anime sucked. Yasuke was overwhelmed the whole movie because everyone was using magic and robots. And the thing about Afro Samurai is that nigga was the best. You could shoot at him, he chopped bullets. You had robots, he chopped robots. You had magic, he blocked that shit, sidestepped and cut through the magic, right? Because again, if you're gonna center this story about this little white girl and disregard all this history, then you have to at least cater to niggatry at the core of the experience and let this nigga blow everybody up. Even if the little girl gives him his powers. Let him stand tall. He didn't. He limped all the way to the end, was killed, and was brought back to life on the back of the love of this tiny white girl. Again, why was he in the fucking movie? Why was this about him? Why was this series about him at all? It's disrespectful. They baited the hook. It is creatively dishonest what they did. It was creatively dishonest. This could have been literally anything else. They brought it, and they know if they had said that this was about a little white girl gaining the same powers as Dr. Manhattan, ain't no niggas pulling up for that shit, and they know it. Yasuke did nothing. The Afro Samurai part of this Afro Samurai-like universe was trash, and that's the biggest problem. If it was entertaining, I would have shut up. Because they could have just done they could have just done a genre piece. It could have been like Fall of Cybertron. You know, it's a third-person shooter, but it's really well done Transformers stuff. So it's fine that it just works like every other third-person shooter. There's nothing wrong with a genre piece if it's good and caters to the audience in any meaningful way. Yasuke catered to no one. It didn't. The historians are like, where was the fuck of the rest of the history? The niggas are like, why is this about a little white girl? The people who just want action like me are like, why is he getting dumped on the back of his neck over and over again? He lost the Intercontinental title like twice in this fucking show. It's 6 episodes. He sucks. That's the worst thing about this is that he sucks. He sucks, and I understand they talk him up, but he got everything was happening to and around him and through him and under him, and he just wasn't going through anything, which would have been the saving grace of the whole program. Just watching a nigga fucking change history.
Do you know how many fights Yasuke has in his own show?
How many?
One-on-one fights, not group fights, right? Just one-on-one fights.
Doesn't he, I think he fights he gets a buff from the little girl at the end, and then he goes up against the demon lady, and then he fights.
I'm counting that. I'm counting that where he gets the buff, and he basically turns into Inuyasha at the end fighting Naraku.
And then he fights, the racist guy. His race.
So the other thing, they didn't need to make Mitsuhide racist and homophobic. They didn't. There is a baked-in reason for Mitsuhide betraying Oda. The 3 most common theories for why Mitsuhide betrays Oda. Oda killed his mother, which I feel like that's an acceptable reason for betrayal.
That's literally why he did it. Like,
2,
one of, like, the 5 reasons.
He felt that Oda was getting too cozy with the Jesuits and foreign powers and trying to build up Japan, and wanted to bring it back to more of the strong traditionalist isolationism, which again, in the universe you're building, that exists. And 3, he was always going to betray him to take the top spot anyways. Like, those are the 3 most prevailing theories. None of them have to do with he's homophobic and doesn't like that Oda is messing around with Ranmaru, because he was probably messing around with Ranmaru too. If you want to look into how that whole samurai culture worked, they were probably sharing Ranmaru, but whatever. He wasn't racist. Like, they made Mitsuhide go out of his way to call Yasuke a slave. His issue with Yasuke would not be that he is a slave. His issue with Yasuke would be that Yasuke is a foreigner, and Mitsuhide wants a strong Japan.
Yeah, people forget that Japan is now, and especially then, extremely xenophobic. extremely xenophobic. We like to, make it sound really polite by saying they're anti-foreigner. That's what that means.
It's xenophobia.
That's what that means.
But them making Mitsuhide's racism, like, it felt like they wanted to be like, yeah, you black. If Mitsuhide could have said, if they had a nigger counter, they would have allowed Mitsuhide to call him a nigger, even though Mitsuhide would have no concept of what that word means.
Right.
That's what they're trying to go for. And I'm like, that is unnecessary. But back to the original point. I'm counting the ripoff of the end of Inuyasha, because that fight is a ripoff of the end of Inuyasha.
Okay.
I'm counting.
Holy, it is. I didn't even think about that.
It is
an exact copy.
Go look at that fight. Saki is Kagome. Yasuke becomes Inuyasha, right down to the win. Anyways, so I'm counting that. I'm counting the flashback where he saves the kid. That's 2. I'm counting the flashback where he fights the Iga clan. That's 3. The 2-on-2 or the 1-on-2 versus Johnny Young Bosch. That's 4. Mitsuhide, 5. In a 6-episode series, Yasuke has 5 fights. How many of those fights does he win?
He beat those guys at the gates.
Yep, he beat. Oh, I'm sorry. He knocked out the 2 guys at the gates. I'll give him that too. 6.
Yes. Yeah. I think those are the guys who were like, we're not going to surrender to no squad with a Negro and a lady on it. And then he had to go step up and he cut some man diagonally across the chest piece. And yes, that man didn't survive. He didn't survive.
No, that's the flashback with the Iga clan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was the only that was the best he looked in the whole show by a country mile.
And it's frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Yes, that's where I say the Afro Samurai part of this, because if you're going to, it just shows as you have to cater to your audience a little bit. If you're going to turn this into professional wrestling, you understand you must send the audience home happy then. Because if it was historically accurate, then I would have shut up. I don't care. I'm not. Whatever happens, I'm like, all right. I guess in history, niggas ain't out here 55-0 in real life. It's fine. Boxers got their 10 losses. I'm not worried about it. But
like, he kind of was in history though. That's the other thing. Like, once he finally got used to fighting with the Jesuits in Japan, he was that nigga, and that's why Oda wanted him. He was like, oh no, I need you.
Listen, I didn't know that part. That makes me like it less, because I was under the impression that he had his struggles, and maybe in the face of history, he wasn't that great. And I was like, all right. I mean, it's fine. I would have loved a story that centered around anything that would have led to that, as opposed to it being about this little white girl that didn't need this Negro hanging around, then kind of, bring him back to life. But apparently he is the best. And in the movie, he wasn't the best. And great.
So I got a question. Does he get powers now that he's magically woken back up from the dead? No, they don't give it to him. No, like.
Well, I don't think I don't think we'll be back. We're not returning to this again. I don't think. We're done here. That's why that's one of the reasons why I thought the general narrative flew by, was because they were doing this for 1 season and 1 season only. I don't think they'll be back.
Time out. And another thing, the very last scene where he's at the grave of Ming Na Wen, talking to her brother, the grown-up kid that he saved all those years ago. That's a great moment that I feel like the show didn't earn. You didn't earn that.
Yes.
Hey man, we taking what we can get at this point though. Like, honestly.
That is a great moment. He tells the little brother what happened to his sister. That is a great moment.
Yes. But there was no story to get there.
Right.
None to speak of, which is just, I'm fascinated by that, and it will take me a long time to get over that. Like the fact that they decided that of all these options, they chose to do nothing. And if they had done any one of these things, it would have been fine because we're just here for niggatry. We enjoy it. We enjoy being pandered to. Pander away, please, LaShawn Thomas. Bait the hook with as much blackness as you can. We will watch it. All you had to do was celebrate it in some way. You know what? That's it. Then this in no way, shape, or form celebrates blackness in any way. This show sucks.
It's like if y'all gonna go magic and all this, like give him the Darksaber,
Right?
Like, make him a Jedi. Fuck it. Like if we just going crazy like that, like just
right, right. Something has to give. Something has to give here, and nothing gave. And at the end of it, that little white girl was phenomenal cosmic power until I guess that the universe, the scales of the universe tip in the other way, and then she turns evil because the demon lady was talking about how she felt great, and then all of a sudden she needed more to survive. She needed more energy to survive, and then she turned into this demon, and it's gonna happen to her. So watch out. And that was interesting, but again, they need to call it the Ascendancy of Jan Brady Volume 2. I will watch that anime about that little girl because I would like to see her own downfall and whether this is cyclical and whether there was always going to be an uber being, because in the beginning the demon lady was the most powerful being in the world and she ran roughshod over everybody, and then the little girl was. And is this going to be cyclical? I would watch that anime. Keep that nigga away from that shit. If you're not going to focus or celebrate his life in any meaningful way, and if I have to watch this anime about this little white girl, then let me just make it up and just stop with the shit. Cut the shit. Just make it an anime about a little white girl. Fine. Fine. Just don't bait the hook with black people in history. Don't do that. Imagine that. Fucking anime about Harriet Tubman and it wound up being some white dude. Some white cowboy at the time. Nigga, he had Wesker's powers from Resident Evil and shit. And she had to keep him alive. Nigga, are you out of your fucking mind? What the fuck is this shit? What?
Oh, Jesus. You know, because Bap, you brought up giving him the Darksaber. I can make that work too.
Yes.
No, because I'm already pissed. I'm already pissed that you've already given me a better show than this show gave me.
Bruh.
So you know they make a big deal about his sword is in the vase, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have the sword be a gift from Nobunaga and have that sword be infused with something. Although I get why the sword was in the vase. It's supposed to, like, he locked it away because he had to kill Nobunaga, which did happen, by the way. Yasuke is the one that cut off Nobunaga's head and delivered it to Nobunaga's son after Mitsuhide burned down.
That's another thing. There was a whole yada yada about what happened where they lost a secondary battle. How did you yada yada that part? Like, there was a whole point. Like, it wasn't that he all of a sudden cut off Nobunaga's head and then retired and started living, moved to the hood. There was a whole secondary push with his boy.
Yes.
And that failed. Dude, they went over. Do you understand? They went over that in 6 sentences. That didn't even get a flashback. It didn't even get still images.
And that also happened. After Yasuke reunites with Nobunaga's son, they do make a push against Mitsuhide, but Nobunaga's son was not Nobunaga. They get routed. Mitsuhide captures Yasuke, but instead of killing him, because Mitsuhide doesn't want to piss off the Jesuits, he just gives him back to the Jesuits. And he does escape from the Jesuits and just sort of chills after that. Like, no one knows what happens after he escapes from the Jesuits. They just do know that he did escape from Jesuit custody, and he just sort of chilled after that.
When they yada yada that part, I had to pause it and freaked out for half an hour. I was freaking out. I was like, why is this not even a still image flashback? Why isn't this just a vignette? How is that this, the most interesting thing you've said in the whole series about what happened to Yasuke? 6 sentences. In passing. While that little white girl says, I don't really need you, but you're pretty cool. What the fuck? Fuck this show.
She does say that. She does say that.
She says it and she's right. That's the thing. Even if at the end, right, they needed each other. Like, her power needed like a conduit, or her powers aren't so good. And he needed power because of the changing face of combat where niggas out here with robots and magic and shit. AIs and shit, feudal AIs or whatever. That's another thing. They burned through that fucking cast of characters like a motherfucker in service of that white girl. They had so many interesting characters. They had an interesting bag of rogues, a rogues gallery. And then they had them all die randomly, quickly, suddenly. Just when we thought that they might be interesting and they might lend the show some, some fun, some fan service. No, they were all killed. Especially the robot AI person who, there is a feudal AI. He met his first friend in life. She's killed, and then he blows himself up, and I'm like, word?
Again, on paper, that's a really good moment. This show didn't earn that moment.
No.
I figured it out, though. LaShawn directs like he draws panels. He likes action moments. He likes steals. So whatever it takes to get to those moments that he can frame like that is what he's going to do. But as far as story,
excuse my French, fuck you and fuck him, because that whole 6-sentence thing where he was like, listen, I tried to fight again. I tried to run this back and we got fucked up and I was sold to slavery and broke up, fucked back out. If he likes action stills, can you get more actiony than a whole ass second war? And a nigga freeing himself from fucking slavery by his own damn self? Can you get more actiony than that?
I'm trying to figure something out on why this happened, because I have no reason. It doesn't do anything for Netflix, and it doesn't do anything for, was it Mappa that did this? If I'm not mistaken,
I don't know.
Like it doesn't do anything for anybody involved.
No, it shows bad.
They should put Chris Redfield in it. Give him a fucking boulder and punch.
Listen, I mean, talk about Resident Evil. That shit, that is the opposite of Yasuke. That is the
fucking opposite.
The worst thing about Resident Evil I can say is because I was one of the muted few wondering why the fuck are we obsessing over this giant woman's ass so much? And Bacon was made a very good point. He's like, I don't think these niggas know that she gonna be 30% of the game. And I was like, well, we might have to sit down and let everybody know between feverish masturbation sessions that in fact that giant vampire lady will not be all of the game. The worst thing about that is not only is she 30% of the game, but she's magnificently done, and the other 70%, I think I'm like on the end of the game. It's easily the best Resident Evil game, and the rest of the game using her ass as a smoke screen so that the rest of the game isn't a legit unspoiled, fairly funny because there's so much more to it, and it's all so good. And I think they literally put her in front of everyone, and then the rest of the game is just. But
and it's well deserved.
It's like one of those things where my bar is on the ground for Resident Evil, even though the team that's been handling Resident Evil since Resident Evil 7 have been on it in a shockingly coherent way. This is a big flex. Like, they have officially announced that they can do all the things that make Resident Evil better than the people who started Resident Evil, and they're right.
All in one game.
It's such a massive flex. Imagine if Age of Ultron worked out, because Age of Ultron is famously rushed, right? Imagine if all the threads that they were trying to unravel and tie up in Age of Ultron all worked perfectly, and the film did not come off as rushed for the most part. It's good, but rushed. Imagine the flex for like Joss Whedon. I think it's Joss Whedon, right? Yeah, it's Joss Whedon. Imagine the flex, and that's kind of where Resident Evil is at. And it's one of those things where I was ready to say that I hope people remain objective, and it's still kind of a thing because I'm really tired of seeing the mods where people are hitting Dimitrescu in the ass with a goddamn fly swatter, because the game is easily the most well-written Resident Evil. It's the most well-directed Resident Evil. It's the most sane Resident Evil. It's the first time Resident Evil has ever been able to be loud but not dumb, ever. Because Resident Evil, one of the things about Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 4 it was very popular, everyone enjoyed it, but it ushered in the era of yada yada mutants, yada yada virus. And the next games, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil Revelations, Resident Evil Revelations 2, all these games were all the same. The movies were the same way. There's a B virus, C virus, T virus. Everyone has a virus. Texas has a virus. Europe has a virus. Oh my God, there's a virus in the airport. There's a virus in the water. There's a virus in Russia. Everyone has a tyrant. Oh my God, someone can order hunters from Amazon. It went out of control, but no one ever took the time to explain anything because it became okay to not explain anything. Even though Resident Evil was stupid, Resident Evil used to try, and then Resident Evil 4 made it okay to not try. And then Resident Evil 7 and the 2 remake, 3 remake had a level of craft to it that was, you know, as a Resident Evil fan, you start to see, it's kind of like when your favorite basketball team starts winning some games, you know, like Knicks fans this year. Like all of a sudden you're like, you see him win 6 games, you're like, you see him win 9 games, you go, this nigga just beat the Lakers? And that's where we're at. And then it turns out that Resident Evil 8 comes along and they actually are legit and the game is absolutely positively outstanding in a shocking way.
Who knew they weren't the generals?
Bruh. Like
I'm shocked.
I didn't expect the game to be bad, as Resident Evil is never bad. Resident Evil 6 is the closest the game has been to bad, and that's still okay. You know what I mean? Resident Evil's never bad. As much as I don't like the direction Resident Evil flew in when it became very popular, or all the directions it went in when it became very popular after Resident Evil 4. It was never bad.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying more along the lines of they are Harlem Globetrottering it up right now.
Oh no, Resident Evil Village is a substantial flex by the team by the evil team. Substantial, monstrous flex by them.
You get 3 different RE games in the first 15 minutes of that game.
Right. And the game plays with pacing and expectations so aggressively. And it, for the first time I've ever encountered where it has a legitimate, it has some of the best writing, which is never something you say about Resident Evil.
The interactions with the family, oh my God.
Right. It is a lot happening while never quite, how do I put it? Because it does get Resident Evil dumb, but it's never insulting. You know what it is? I think there's something to be said for when sci-fi really wants to explain itself. Like when it's really actively trying to do so. And the premise of the sci-fi is so ridiculous that you're open to a lot of different stuff. So there's a lot of thought going into essentially reimagining the origins of Resident Evil since Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 is a soft reboot, and this is like the hammer coming down on the soft reboot. Like this is officially different. Like old Resident Evil, a bunch of Resident Evil games are now canonically irrelevant. And the amount of energy that went into something like this is definitely shocking. Yeah, I was taken aback by how good it was, and I thought it would be okay. Like I always tell Bacon, I was like, Resident Evil's always solid, especially lately. It's been solid. And yeah.
Oh yeah, my issue was never with the game itself. It was watching people's interpretation of a game series that they don't play.
Oh yeah, listen, yes.
That's why I was like, this game isn't what people think it's gonna be.
Yep, and the
like at all.
Right.
Like at all, because like it's definitely one of those things where you see a lot of people projecting their wants onto
a
game that got like weirdly hyped up for incredibly misogynistic reasons, which by the way, thank you again, Resident Evil team, for going down the predicted path of, again.
I maintain, having followed this, I'm not going to lie to you, and I will push back a little. Having followed this game from the beginning, this isn't the direction that they went in. What happened, and I say this, is they introduced the game.
No, that's not what I mean. Like, again, like, the things that Resident Evil does in like the name of body horror, essentially. Yes, everybody is gross, but they go extra hard on female bodies.
Right. They stopped.
And that is something, but I mean they still do it. Like it's not like it's less bad than they used to be, but they still do it. It's just not as bad. But again, the people who also are overhyping this game, who don't play the Resident Evil series, also don't know this or don't realize that this is something that they do. It's literally why I don't enjoy the games.
Yeah, the new ones don't. And this is, like I said, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Again, it's not as bad, but it's still not great.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know. I've played. It's not. I won't say no, but
the last game literally had an exploded vagina monster.
Yes. Yes.
That's literally what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like, I mean, in general, I mean, but like that's a tenet of Resident Evil games.
Yeah.
Right. And I know from the onset of like, here's these evil like villain ladies.
That's the thing. It's like
I already know that this is gonna happen.
It didn't though. Like it's like I hear you. Like what happens if people if a thing gets better at the problem that it has? Because
hold on. You're gonna say it didn't. I've seen the last boss. That's a giant vagina dragon.
I didn't see the last boss.
Oh well. Giant vagina dragon.
Well, that's it. Okay.
Yeah,
right. I said you can get better at a thing and still be bad at it. They're just not as bad as they used to be. Now, again, the old games are pretty egregious. They just got it. Just like the new part just got better at it. That doesn't mean it's still not a problem. It's just better.
Okay.
And again, I give them props for the better, but it's still not to where I'd be like this is it. Like these, like I said, these things aren't created in a vacuum. That there are choices,
right,
that are made, like known choices of let's create an exploded vagina monster, even knowing the context of what that means in like 2 days everything. And the history of what they've done and created in the past, and like, you know, how gaming treats like female bodies in general. It's not good. It's not good. So it's just like, if things weren't the way they were today, it wouldn't be an issue. There's too much back history, and the back history makes it an issue.
I feel you.
I don't know, like, am I?
Oh, no. It's not that. I didn't know. I didn't see the end of the game. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's just one of the things where I'm at the end of the game. And it's one of those things where my interactions with the female characters were Lady Dimitrescu and her daughters. And they were handled really reasonably. Even Lady Dimitrescu, when she mutated into her Resident Evil monster, she was definitely like, it was like I said, it was different than what I thought, considering how they do it normally in the series. And I was like, oh, okay, this is okay. I see. This is like a whole Angel Griffin thing going on. It's just
like,
not.
Oh,
this
is reasonable.
Right. This is a reasonable lady monster. And during the game, like I said, even in the game, all the memes about people trying to get swallowed up by her ass cheeks or whatever. In the actual game, she does not regard Ethan as any more than a roast beef sandwich. And if that's your thing, which it might be, which is valid, then that's sure. But there's nothing, they're not flying over the top like they used to or have. And it's just like that was my introduction. So I didn't know that the last boss was a vagina dragon. I didn't know. I have not spoiled the game, so I am playing it and I'm right at the end. And if the end is just gonna turn it all on its head, then that's fine. I'm willing to take that L.
So I thought Dimitrescu's monster form was the last boss. That's a giant vagina dragon.
It's not a vagina dragon.
That's a vagina dragon.
Well, I haven't even got to it, so thanks, guys.
Hey, listen, here's the thing about Resident Evil mutations. It's like I can't spoil. No. I can't. We can't spoil it. Like, what if it was like, oh, and that nigga turned into into like a fridge toaster. You know, that motherfucker's a raccoon griffin. This is a fucking caterpillar moth. Like, it doesn't. I can't.
You're gonna shoot it.
It doesn't.
Listen, in Resident Evil, they're gonna turn everybody into some kind of grotesque thing. It's just my issue is when like all the female characters specifically, they go really hard with the genitals. And on women in general. Like, it's not like, oh, like all of a sudden I've grown like 18 bazillion like arms and 5 heads and look, now my face is trying to eat you. No, they do that to dude characters specifically.
Side note, completely off topic, just a little bit. Still about Resident Evil. This nigga Ethan is the worst protagonist I have ever fucking met in my entire
Okay, that's another thing. That's another thing. I'm like, I really need people to understand you're gonna be playing a trash ass white dude.
I love it. I love it.
I think it's playing as it's funny. Playing as a because the game doesn't have it doesn't have villains in the tie someone to a trained villain. It doesn't. Resident Evil 8 specifically doesn't have villains in the villain sense. It has a lot of people who are being manipulated. So the idea is if you came in there with a it's one of the reasons why you don't play as Chris Redfield. Because if you came in there hyper competent, it would almost overshadow the fact that these people are not. No one you fight in this game is actively looking for the smoke. They were told to do a thing, sort of loosely. They got a weird email, and now you're like in where they live, fucking with them. And eventually it escalates to the point where you guys have to fight in the Popeyes parking lot over whatever it is that they were doing. And I don't think it works the same without having the most well-written white male character I've ever used in my life. He is insufferable.
He is so fucking oblivious.
Short-sighted, oblivious. He's a front runner. I'll only give one spoiler, one minor one, is when Lady Dimitrescu and is dominating him in the paint. He says nothing. God. He says nothing. Nothing. But there are other parts in the game where there are other people, and he pipes up. He pipes up every time, unless, like I said, he had nothing to say. We had nothing to say when the rubber met the road there. So it was like, and that's great. I was like, man, a lot of times you're playing the game and you're like, Ethan, come on, man. And he's like getting you into jams as a player. Cause I'm like trying to peek and he'll like throw himself in a room in a cutscene and then he'll be like, fuck you, monster. And I'm like, Ethan, I was just trying to slowly open the door. God damn it, white man. You don't got this. Ethan.
He does not have it.
You don't have it.
He does not. He does not have it.
He's a shockingly well-written white character. Critical to the narrative, that white man.
No. I'm not like, again, I'm not like, I'm just, again, there's people who play Resident Evil games. And then there's people who have very not realistic Resident Evil expectations, and I just have to be like, wait a second, wow. Hold up, pull it back.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need you to understand some things.
Well, there's also what y'all brought up in the chat about a lot of the thirst TM for Lady D is the fact that she's white plays a lot into the thirst.
I mean,
she is, and what is she like 9 feet tall?
She's 9 feet tall.
Yeah, like 8.5, 9 feet tall, right?
So we have a giant lady, very tall lady, with like features commonly seen on Black women, being heavily thirsted for when we got these niggas who don't even like women wearing heels because it makes them taller than them. Please explain.
People can't be real with themselves as well. There's a lot of fronting going on everywhere.
And this is it. We are no way. I have been listening to women, non-men over 5'10", over 5'10", not even 6 feet tall, talking about how men have been putting them through the ringer because they are too tall, only to be the uniform love fest for this giant vampire person who wants to chew on you like a sandwich, has no regard for you. And that might be the thing. I guess we want our big people to. I guess we want big folks to eat them. It might be a thing, but it's definitely a clear, like, we don't have this energy for just tall, non-men. We don't have the energy.
We don't have this energy for black women.
Yep.
We don't have this energy for tall women, and we definitely don't have any of this energy for the combination of the two.
Yep.
Like, look at any conversation about Serena Williams.
Yep.
Well, those people are all wrong.
Right.
I'm like, you could be out here living your best life.
Right.
Climbing a goddess.
When she wrapped me up in her strong arms, I can't wait.
I'm just like, so like, it was definitely two of those things where I'm looking at it going like, people are projecting their expectations onto a game series that's not going to give them what they're looking for.
Oh, yeah. It's also going to scare the fuck out of them if they aren't careful.
It's also a very scary game.
No, it's let off, like Aaron said it. Me and him were talking a while back.
Number one reason I actually don't play Resident Evil games is because my stress brain turns anything zombies into stress nightmares. Zombie stress nightmares are not good.
Yeah, Aaron said it a while ago. It let off the gas a little bit. It ain't 7.
Oh.
It ain't 7. 7 is some other shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they were on.
7, they're like, let us make a genuinely terrifying game.
It was fucking it. There was no stopping. There was no off. Even the end of the game, no off.
I mean, yeah, Resident Evil 7 was the developer, and it's funny because Resident Evil 8 is much better than Resident Evil 7. I prefer Resident Evil 7 because I just enjoy the relentless return to survival horror that Resident Evil kind of came through with a flourish, returned with a flourish. I understand there is no way in the world they can continue making Resident Evil 7. They are in no way, shape, it is no way functional for them as a business to make Resident Evil 7 more than once a decade. Because that was relentless. Resident Evil 8 plays with pacing a lot more. Yeah. It will get Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 8 can actually get scarier than Resident Evil 7, but for shorter periods of time and for different reasons. And it also can let off the gas and let you sit there and enjoy a sunset and hunt sheep quietly in the woods. All of this is true.
And stab fish with your knife.
Yes. Stab fish with your knife. Yes. I always have to resist the urge to throw a grenade in the water.
I didn't even think about that.
Not you have to resist the urge.
I'm sorry, did you say throw a grenade? You know what?
Hold on.
Resident Evil.
They even give you the what are you buying line. Like, it is giving you all the Resident Evils. Like, crazy.
I think that's a vagina monster.
Yeah.
I never looked at it because when you fight it, you're under siege, and it looks like a dragon. And I would have liked to hold out my camera phone and take a selfie with it, Yeah, and when you're fighting her, it looks just like a regular dragon. And now I'm looking at the 3D model, like I'm just pivoting around. I'm like, oh, the vagina is the rest of the dragon. I see. And
So we're square one.
we are rolling it. I mean, they tried. They gave it a good go. I mean,
It's just at the last minute though.
they tried. They gave it a go. It's not as egregious as Resident Evil 7, where you actually shoot Marguerite Baker in the vagina. In the vagina has her weak spot.
Yeah.
So, and it's just like, I really didn't think of it, one, because I was actively fighting a dragon, and two, and because Dimitrescu on the actual top is the weak spot, not the vagina. So it's like, oh, okay, it's just a dragon, because, you know, it does look like a dragon, and it is actively trying to eat me. So I see now, it's a vagina dragon.
Of course. Yeah.
I stand corrected. The dragon is in fact a vagina.
Reset the clock.
Yeah, we are back to 0 days.
We are back to 0.
Back to 0 days, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. Without creepily gendered body horror in Resident Evil. We almost did it, but then we didn't. So that means we didn't do it. All right.
Yep. Sorry.
No, it's fine. The game is still fine. Okay.
No, I mean,
It's
like I said, like,
get
it's just.
I accept Resident Evil as problematic. It's going to sensitivity classes, but it's still a jackass.
Listen, and I swear to God, I'm not saying this from a hater perspective.
Oh no! It's from
Swear to God.
I don't think anything. I think it's important when you acknowledge that the things you like are problematic.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't like them. It just means that there's a vagina dragon in my game. That's it. There's a vagina dragon in my game. It is a step up from the vagina bug queen, but it's still the vagina dragon. And now,
but you're not shooting it
in the vagina, which is, you know, a marginal improvement from the vagina bug queen.
Can't get right.
Can't
Get right. It tried. We'll just say this is Resident Evil's best attempt at getting right. The best attempt in the series history.
Like you said, you know, they're going to sensitivity training, but like I just want people to be. It was just really surreal watching the hype over it and seeing people who I know would be like, "Why the fuck am I playing as this annoying ass white dude?" And I'm like, "It's the series."
Yes, it is.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yes.
It's this will never change.
The only time you do not play as an annoying white dude is Resident Evil 3. It's the only one I would universally recommend because Jill is fun. Jill is great in Resident Evil 3. That's about it. In fact, my biggest issue with the series, why I stopped caring about it for so long, was because they actually went and had an entire series full of female protagonists, and then during the series blow off, literally removed all of them from the core narrative. I don't know, like it's a Resident Evil tangent. Resident Evil 6, Jill, Noah, Rebecca Chambers were mentioned, even though they're critical to the core narrative. Nor was Sheva from Resident Evil 5.
Even though she was
Sheva,
right. Yes, Resident Evil 5. Yes, a creative landmark in gaming history.
The fact that it was so many sides at one time.
So many problems. I appreciate, though, like I said, new Resident Evil team.
It's not the world's worst, like most problematic game, but by God, it really tried.
Listen, man, they won so hard. They yada Africa so hard. I can't recommend anyone playing it, but good God, it was an artistic achievement how they yada Africa. Managed to have men with spills. I'm not getting into that. Does anyone have anything to add before we shut this down? Because it's getting late for people. People have children. People have jobs, responsibilities.
I'll just say that near update, still sad. That was it. Still sad.
How can the story of the world's greatest DoorDasher be sad? I'm playing a different game than you. I'm going through all the fucking quests. I'm running around town on foot. I'm bringing people fish.
Wait,
I'm bringing people fucking
wait.
towels.
Wait, how old are you?
What, me?
Yes.
In life? In the game?
No, in the game.
In the game, I'm a boy. I know I'm supposed to grow up after the world collapses, but in the moment, before that shit goes down, before my life gets torn from me, I'm gonna be the best fucking DoorDasher, do every single one of those fucking fetch quests, talk to all those motherfuckers. There's some lady whose children have eaten no less than 85 pieces of mutton that I've hunted myself.
Hey, she wants so much mutton.
She feeds her kids only mutton, and I'm gonna make her happy before the fucking bottom gets pulled, before the bottom falls out.
Cause so
No, you can't say nothing because everything's gonna spoil it. I know bad shit's gonna happen. I've seen the box art. I know it's coming down. I don't care. I'm a DoorDasher.
I almost went into tears after the end of Emil's story.
Fuck it. I don't care. DoorDasher.
But that was it for me.
There you go. Anyone else? Going once?
I have nothing outside of fuck the U.S. healthcare system.
Yes. Fuck the U.S. healthcare system. Fuck the U.S. healthcare system. What?
Seriously, like, thank you to everybody working on the front lines of like the COVID pandemic, but I am just really angry at my care team. Really angry. I was first annoyed. Now I'm just angry.
I mean, you can't, we're gonna, I guess the next episode, we will hear about that. That's a cliffhanger.
Yeah, nothing to say. It's literally just a culmination of all the last couple of years of literally nothing is happening.
Yes. That's
it.
That's, yes. They have not served you well. And now you have been sick for 5 months in a row. 4 months. 3 months.
4 months.
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I'm sorry. Justin, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add. Just at some point, I know we've talked about it, but at some point, I do think the people need to hear Bacon's thoughts on the Mass Effect ending.
Which one?
3.
Y'all gonna be making me play that trilogy. Somebody's gonna have to buy it.
Well, audience, you heard them. If you want to hear Bacon's take on the Mass Effect ending, yes. Now I gotta play the trilogy because I remember playing that ending and I didn't feel the same. Like, I get it, but at the end of it, I was more annoyed with the game than the ending because the game wasn't a game and it didn't have its own story. Like, it was literally the end of Mass Effect 2 wholly instead of a game. And I was kind of annoyed that I was like, oh, this is just the end of Mass Effect 2. So I actually might have not been, I might need to go through the ending again. And then they fixed the ending and I still was annoyed there wasn't a game. It wasn't its own, like, it didn't even have its own meta story in any meaningful way. It was literally the end of Mass Effect 2 entirely. And, yeah. So, yeah, we will all be playing the trilogy now. You've turned us on to it, Justin. We will all be playing all of us will be playing the Mass Effect trilogy again.
Oh, don't expect me to cape for it. I love it in spite of its problems.
Oh, no, I think Mass Effect is great I think Mass Effect is top heavy. Mass Effect 2 does a lot of heavy lifting in terms of heavy lifting in that series.
That's my problem with like all of the nostalgic love for it. And I'm like, no, everything you love is in Mass Effect 2.
2, yes. Mass Effect
it's
1
specifically, like, nobody likes 1. Everybody gets angry at 3. It's literally just 2.
Just 2, which is why I don't understand how somebody can fix their lips and say Mass Effect Andromeda sucks. Hello?
Right. It's just 2.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, that's one of those where I'm just like, say what you really mean.
Yes.
Because what you're saying doesn't make sense and is just factually incorrect.
Well, there you go.
I'm going to be one of those people who uses the term factually incorrect on subjective material.
Listen, use your words. I tell people that all the time. What are you saying? What do you mean when you say? What are you really trying to say? It's real talk. Say what you mean. Figure it out. Figure it out.
Use your words.
All right. And beware of vagina dragons, guys. They're fucking everywhere. All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Catch you next time. Have a good day.
Bye.
Go ahead, stand